Discover the incredible story of the Antediluvian period. What do we know? A mysterious world, an unknown lifestyle, extinct creatures, people living for hundreds of years, supposed giants walking the earth. We are talking about the Antediluvian era mentioned in the early chapters of the book of Genesis. Let's explore what life was like for people at that time and what happened before the Great Flood. The first antediluvian family was that of Adam and Eve, the first human beings created by God according to the biblical account. After being expelled from the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve settled and had sons and daughters. The couple's firstborn was Cain, whose story is marked by tragedy. Cain became the first murderer in history by killing his brother Abel in an act of envy and anger. This terrible sin led Cain to receive a mark from God as a sign of his wickedness. Even after this heinous act, Cain founded a city called Enoch, which became the first city mentioned in the Bible in Genesis chapter 4. The narrative of Adam's family provides insights into the complexities of human relationships and the moral challenges faced since the dawn of humanity. Cain, marked by his terrible act, founded the city of Enoch, a milestone in antediluvian civilization. This city, mentioned in biblical records, was the starting point of a developing society. Cain's descendants not only lived in tents and raised livestock but also excelled in the arts and technology. Jabal was recognized for his ability to raise cattle and dwell in tents, while Jubal excelled in music by developing musical instruments. Tubal-Cain was a master in forging tools from copper and iron. The city of Enoch became a cultural and technological center where knowledge was valued and skills were honed. This period before the flood was marked by significant advances that shaped the society of the time. The antediluvian civilization described in the Bible reveals a period of great human development, where intellectual and technological capabilities were valued. The biblical accounts of the period before the flood highlight man's ability to build cities, create advanced tools, and develop knowledge in various areas. Unlike theories suggesting a gradual evolution of the human species, the biblical narrative emphasizes that man was created by God as a morally capable being from the beginning. This means that while there was intellectual and cultural progress at that time, there was no evolutionary process as advocated by some scientific schools. Antediluvian society was marked by an incessant quest for knowledge and innovation, reflecting the creativity and skills granted to humans by their creator. Antediluvian society, descended from Cain, was marked by a remarkable diversity of knowledge and skills. In addition to excelling in city building and developing advanced technologies such as forging musical instruments and tools with copper and iron, the inhabitants of this period also demonstrated a deep appreciation for the arts. Intricate sculptures, cave paintings, and complex weaving were some of the artistic expressions that flourished in this pre-flood world. Creativity and artistic sensitivity were valued as much as intellectual and technological achievements, highlighting the cultural richness of this lost civilization. In Noah's time, antediluvian civilization reached an advanced stage of technological and cultural development. Biblical records reveal that the inhabitants of that time possessed extraordinary knowledge and skills, enabling them to build complex structures and accomplish impressive feats. One of the landmarks of this period was the construction of the Ark by Noah, according to divine instructions to preserve life during the impending flood. The Ark was not just an ordinary vessel, but a masterpiece of ancient engineering, designed to house living beings of all species and withstand the forces of nature. The skill and dedication required to build such a monumental vessel reflect the high level of technical knowledge achieved by antediluvian society. Moreover, the construction of the Ark symbolizes Noah's obedience to divine will amidst the growing moral corruption around him. This period before the flood was marked not only by material advances but also by ethical and spiritual challenges that shaped the destiny of humanity. The exact duration of the antediluvian period, which encompasses the era before the flood described in the Bible, remained shrouded in mystery. Although the scriptures do not provide a precise chronology of this time, many scholars speculate that it was a period of great length. The longevity of people at that time, as reported in biblical records, raises questions about the passage of time and human experience during those remote years. Some interpretations suggest that the time elapsed between creation and the flood may have been significantly longer than the events recorded later in the Bible. Attempts to date this period have been made over the centuries, but without definitive success. The genealogical list present in Genesis chapter 5 offers some clues about the antediluvian generations, but its interpretation and application to determine an exact timeline are challenging. Some scholars argue that the biblical genealogies prioritize the lineage and relevance of individuals rather than providing a precise chronological record. This textual complexity makes it difficult to establish concrete dates for the antediluvian period, leaving it shrouded in mystery and speculation. The genealogies detailed in Genesis 5 provide a fascinating glimpse into the antediluvian period. By tracing the lineages from Adam to Noah, we are introduced to key figures who played significant roles in pre-flood history. Names like Seth, Enosh, Kenan, and Mahalalel reveal the continuity of human descent and the transmission of knowledge and traditions across generations. Each individual listed in the genealogy carries a unique story and contributes to the complex web of family and cultural relationships of the distant era. The exceptional longevity of these ancient patriarchs is highlighted, indicating not only an impressive temporal span but also a legacy of wisdom and experience accumulated over the centuries. The genealogical list is not limited to mere records of ancestry but reveals the depth of connection between antediluvian generations and the crucial role each individual played in preserving the history and traditions of humanity before the flood. Sin, which is the transgression of divine law, permeated all spheres of antediluvian society. Morality and ethical values were gradually corrupted as selfishness, violence, and injustice became increasingly common. The biblical narrative reveals that spiritual depravity reached alarming levels, leading individuals to stray from the principles established by God. Lamech, a descendant of Cain, was a notable example of this moral decline, adopting polygamy and boasting of his cruelty. Disobedience and rebellion against divine laws became widespread, reflecting a society in spiritual decline. The intermingling between the sons of God and the daughters of men symbolized the deterioration of spiritual values and the departure from true worship. Moral and spiritual corruption was a predominant feature of the antediluvian era, culminating in the need for divine judgment to restore order and justice. The intermingling between the sons of God and the daughters of men has generated theological and interpretative controversy over the centuries. Some scholars advocate the view that this union represented a cross between spiritual beings and humans, resulting in a hybrid offspring of supernatural beings. This interpretation suggests the presence of fallen angels who mated with human women, producing a lineage of giants and powerful beings known as Nephilim. This theory raises questions about the nature of divine creation, the interaction between the spiritual and material worlds, and the impact of these forbidden unions on human history. On the other hand, many scholars argue that the intermingling between the sons of God and the daughters of men symbolized simply the moral deterioration of antediluvian society. According to this perspective, the term sons of God referred to the godly descendants of Seth, while the daughters of men represented the ungodly descendants of Cain. The union between these opposing lineages resulted in a progressive departure from spiritual values and true worship, culminating in the widespread corruption that led to divine judgment in the flood. Regardless of the interpretation adopted, the narrative of the sons of God and the daughters of men highlights the ethical challenges faced by humanity in the antediluvian era and invites us to reflect on the consequences of disobedience to divine laws. Noah, a righteous and God-fearing man, was chosen for a divine mission of epic proportions. While antediluvian society sank deeper into corruption and sin, Noah remained faithful to the Lord's commandments. In a world where evil prevailed, Noah stood out for his integrity and devotion. His family shared his faith and righteousness, forming a small nucleus of justice amidst the moral chaos that dominated the earth. As divine judgment approached, Noah received detailed instructions for the construction of the ark, a vessel that would be the means of preserving life during the impending flood. Noah's hard work and unwavering faith were put to the test as he faced the mockery and disbelief of those around him. Even in the face of adversity and the ridicule of unbelievers, Noah remained steadfast in his mission, trusting in the divine promise of salvation. When the waters of the flood finally covered the earth, only Noah, his family, and the animals sheltered in the ark were spared from destruction. The end of the antediluvian era marked the beginning of a new journey for humanity, with Noah being a symbol of hope and renewal amid universal catastrophe. What do you think about this intriguing period in history? Comment below. Subscribe to the channel for more biblical content and discover our online theology courses in the description. The story of the antediluvian period brings us important lessons about faith, sin, and divine judgment. May we reflect on these teachings in our days.